The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live and it is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. We're thrilled to be here with you on this Thursday morning. We're going to be live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. And as always, we hope that it will be interactive because we love to have you participate. By the way, we welcome everyone here. We consider all kinds of people part of the autism community. You're a part of the autism community, obviously, if you are on the autism spectrum yourself. If you are a parent, if you are a teacher, if you are someone who works clinically with individuals who are on the autism spectrum, if you are a relative of someone or you're someone who cares deeply about someone who's on the autism spectrum, welcome. You are part of this community and we're thrilled to have you here. And we welcome your questions and we welcome your support by watching us and sharing us. So please do that. In fact, there are a lot of different ways that you can be watching the show, a lot of different ways that you can share it. Samantha's going to show you some of the different ways that you can be watching and interacting while I remind you that our homepage is still autism-live.com. I know many of you enjoy watching us on YouTube and you can interact with us there. Many of you enjoy watching us on Facebook Live and we love that many more of you from around the world are finding us on Facebook. But I do, and you can ask questions on Facebook. We love that too. Or make comments, or tell us story ideas that you would like for us to cover. We love all of that. But I do want to remind you that when you go to our homepage, autism-live.com, that there is a way for you to pose questions anonymously, yes. And it's all free. In all of those different locations, it's all free. We appreciate your support and we appreciate you being a part. Because honestly, you heard Dr. Granpeesheh yesterday. It's the most fun when it's interactive, when we hear from you guys. That's the truth, I think, for all of us. That's when it becomes a conversation and that's what we all want. I like to remind all of you at the start of the show that we have lots of experts on the show and I'm thrilled to bring you experts from around the world, literally. But I do like to remind you that I'm not one of them. I am not an expert in the field of autism. I am, as of this week, I am an 11-year veteran. As a parent, my son was diagnosed with autism 11 years ago. And when I think about what has changed in that 11 years, both in the world of autism, but in our lives, it's like, woo, honey, do we have time? We don't. We don't have time to talk about all the things that have changed. And I have learned a lot along the way about being an autism parent to my son. And I feel like I got so lucky because I got hooked up with the right support. And that has made all the difference, ladies and gentlemen. And that what I'd like to do is help you to be as lucky as I was by giving you as much information as I can. Now, it really helps me when you ask questions because then I can be more targeted with the information. But I like to think of myself now as a conduit, the old-fashioned idea of a switchboard, you know, that there were plugs on the bottom and plugs on the top and somebody who sat there and could plug things. And I like to plug people into things that could potentially help them to get to the progress that they so richly deserve. So ask me questions and I'll hunt them down, but a lot of times I don't know what the answers are. A lot of times it's just me plugging you into the expert who does. So as long as we can be clear about that, not the expert, but somebody who cares deeply and has a lot to pay forward, that would be Moi. In any case, we like to start off these mornings with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out what in the heck are they talking about? Why do they have to? Why do they have to use these jargon terms? And how can it help us? That's really the important thing for me. For the first 2 years, I railed against the jargon and said, I'm not going to learn it. I already have a master's degree. I don't want to learn a whole new set of jargon. And then I realized that they use the jargon because it's quicker and it's more efficient and it's more specific. And we try to make friends with it one day, one word, one phrase, one acronym, one alphabet land craziness at a time. So let's take the trip to alphabet land. Today's term, first time we've done it on the shore, on the show or the shore, CBS. Oh yes, it's that great network that has the logo for the eye. No, that's not what we're talking about with autism. This is a relatively new term. So what is the actual term? The actual term stands for center-based services. So if you are a family that has been recently diagnosed and you're about to start your ABA service, I told you, alphabet land. ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, gold standard of treatment for autism. If your child is being diagnosed anywhere in the world, it's the thing that you want to get, right? ABA, good quality ABA services. All ABA is not created equally, right? So you start the process of figuring out what's your funding, and you start talking to people, and at some point they're going to say to you, oh, are you doing HBS or are you doing CBS? Because nobody ever used to talk about this before because it all used to be HBS, which is home-based services. That's what I had. But you are going to hear people talking about CBS, and if they're not talking about it, I suggest you start talking about it. Why? Let's take a look at our working definition for CBS. Here's what you need to know about CBS. Recent studies have shown that CBS is 80 to 85% more effective than traditional home-based services in treating autism. All right, so let's back this up a little bit and figure out why that might be, because the studies aren't pinpointing exactly why it is, but you need to know that they are finding that it's more effective. Just yesterday, we had a question of somebody who wrote in and said, gee, I feel like our therapists are so young. And, and then somebody else wrote in from England as they were listening to Dr. Grampuchet, and they said, boy, I wish my therapist knew as much as she did. And the reality is we all wish that, right? But again, reality check, you aren't going to be able to put a 30-year plus veteran who has been dealing with and has seen every issue that comes up with autism into everybody's home and get those services, because they just don't exist, right? There's a couple of them, and we have Dr. Grampuchet that's on the show to be able to spread the knowledge that she has, but she can't be in every single, we can't clone her. I know, I looked into it. We can't do it. So what do? And here's the other thing. You gotta have young people, because they have to be able to get on the floor, and they have to be able to get on their knees and crawl on the floor and play with the kids and do all kinds of things. So we need people with young joints, but we need to be able to give them the benefit of the best experience. We give them training, and that's great, but we know that on the day that they finish therapy, come on, it's not a hard math problem. They're gonna know more on the last day of therapy than they know on the first day of therapy, right? So how do we give them the benefit of those veterans who've been there, done that, and know everything, but are at the point where getting up and down off the floor is maybe not as easy as it once was? When we do, one of the many benefits of center-based system is that we've got the senior staff, who are usually the BCBAs, the board certified behavior analysts, who were therapists at one point and worked their way up to the point where they're designing programs. We have them usually in the centers, and then the therapists are there too, and so everybody's interacting. Things happen faster. People are getting trained so many more hours during the day. They're seeing other people work with other kids and learning from other therapists. It's just like taking all of the think tank, putting it in the same room and saying, hey, is there a benefit to that? Well, yeah, I think there probably is. Also of a benefit in the center-based is that We have more, for so long, we've argued about how are we going to get more people to work with our kids. And listen, every ABA provider in the world is hiring right now. If you're looking for a job and you're good with kids, let me know. I can hook you up with good work. That's decent pay and that there's a chance to move up. If you have kids that are going to college and they need a job, please reach out to me. Let's get them a job. But because there's never going to be enough. There's never going to be enough people for the demand that we have for people that need those therapists. But instead of having those therapists drive, 30 miles in this direction, do a 2-hour session with another kid, then drive 40 miles in another, that whole time that they were in the car was time that they could have been treating a kid. So by having it in the center-based system, yeah, it's hard because the driving gets put on the family, and that's not the most wonderful thing. But if you think about how many more hours those trained individuals get to spend with kiddos, it's the right way to do it. It's the reason why doctors don't make house calls anymore and why we have to travel to the doctor's office instead of the doctor coming to us, because you take the person who's got the most training and have them do the least amount of travel and put them FaceTime with other people as much as possible. And then one of the other great things about center-based system is that the kiddos around other kiddos, so socialization goes through the roof. Just some of the many reasons why we're pretty sure, but again, the studies weren't about why, but those things all make sense, don't they? But the study was very clear, 80 to 85% faster. And I do want to point out that one of the studies, which was done by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, looked specifically at, first they looked at a group of kids who were getting home-based services and were getting center-based services, and it compared. And the kids who were getting center-based services were mastering things and holding on to that mastery longer. Great, right? But everybody goes, well, maybe those kids just, or maybe those therapists just, whatever, I don't know. But so then they took the kids who were in home-based and they took those very same kids with the same therapist and put them in the center-based and said, do these kids learn faster as opposed to when they're, and guess what? Yes, 80 to 85% faster. It's like serious business. When I think about the fact that my son did ABA for 5 years, and that maybe we could have accomplished what we accomplished in 5 years in 3, hello, get yourself some center-based services. Talk to your ABA provider, ask them if they're going center-based, ask them why they aren't, if they aren't, and consider making the change because center-based is where it's at. Okay, moving on. We always have a question for you, and our question today is one that I absolutely love because it's a positive assumptive question, right? And of course it would be with ABA, but what services has ABA made possible for you? I think I worded that wrong. What has ABA made possible for you? Not necessarily services. What has having ABA opened the door to? And I can tell you for us, pretty much everything. That on the first day when my son was diagnosed, and I frequently do a talk that I call the crystal ball of autism, and I talk about how I wanted a crystal ball. I wanted to be able to look into the future and know what was going to happen, like where we're going to be, and no one can tell you on the first day, and it's so frustrating. And that I had this sort of vision board of what my life was going to be like, and it was going to be perfect. And my kid and I were going to be close, and we were going to have these deep, meaningful conversations, and he was going to go to college, and he was going to change the world, and it was all going to be lovely, right? And then when the doctors said autism 11 years ago, it was like my whole vision board became a dry erase board, and it just, autism erased the whole thing, and all that was left was a question mark that I didn't know in that moment. Was my child going to be potty trained? Just didn't know. Was he going to speak? Was I ever going to hear the words, I love you, Mom? Everything was a question mark. And ABA took those question marks and turned them into realities. And now, looking back, it happened in a relatively short period of time. It felt at the time like it was just the slowest thing in the world. But it wasn't. That's just what it felt like to me. So ABA made everything possible. And if you're not getting good ABA and you're not seeing the progress that you need to see, check. Make sure, make sure that the ABA that you're getting is good quality, and don't be afraid to make changes. But that's our question for you today. What has ABA made possible for you? For me, easy, everything. All right, we always have a topic of the week, and our topic this week, boom, ba, boom, getting good information, because isn't that everything? I started this show by saying to you that I was lucky because I got good information along the way. And I'll be honest with you, we try really hard here to set the bar at giving good information. Sometimes it's hard, and we take it really seriously, but part of the reality of the autism community is that every single person has different circumstances, and sometimes the information is difficult. And I know sometimes you guys write to me and say it's hard to hear about the families that have ABA services and maybe aren't taking advantage of them because you're still in a state where you don't have a mandate, or you've got a mandate but you're self-insured and there's no insurance in your state that will allow you to switch to that, and you wish you had ABA, right? And that it's painful sometimes to hear us talk about the people who have it and aren't using it, or just even to hear about who is using it. So I want to say to you, I try to be cognizant of that, but I do want to remind those of you who feel like you're on the short end of the stick that it used to be that way for everyone, and that people who were stronger than I am, so no judgments if you can't do this, but there are people who found the way to do an ABA program themselves. I don't know if I could have done that. I'm so grateful that I still had to jump through some fire hoops to get the funding for it, but I got to have a fully funded ABA program, and it made a lot of difference. But there are many people that I can point to who did it on their own. And now that's easier than ever. The resources are in place to help you to do that if that's what you have to do. But it's all a matter of getting the information that you need, always. Isn't it? And sometimes that means asking the right question, because if you don't know which question to ask, then sometimes, you're not going to get the information. So we try to front load you with questions, and we try to give you an opportunity to bounce questions off of us so that when you get in front of the experts who can answer your questions, that you're prepared with the right question. That's part of what we try to do here on a daily basis and on a weekly basis, on a yearly basis. Don't be afraid to ask us questions. That's what we're here for. All right, we got a great show for you. I'm really excited because we have been doing, see, I'm speechless, I'm gobsmacked. We have been doing a new segment lately, legal support with Bonnie Yates, and she's going to be with us in just a little while. And that's a lovely thing. And honestly, we could just do that on Thursdays and it would be spectacular. But as you can see, we've got other things going for you too. We're going to talk a little bit about our mindfulness. We're going to have our mindfulness moment. But a little bit later on in the show, we're bringing back two fabulous guests. Dina Kimmel, of course, you've seen before on the show. She is the owner of the We Rock the Spectrum gyms, and something that I just love. I'm the biggest fan. That's probably not true. I'm sure that there are 1,000 people who just went, no, I'm pretty sure I'm the biggest fan, but these are incredible things. And the Agora Hills We Rock the Spectrum gym is under new management. And it's someone, I'm not sure if we have had Dana before on the show, but she's certainly a friend of the show, and we've done many things with her before at events. And she has now taken over the We Rock the Spectrum in Agora Hills and is doing some really amazing things there, including a workshop that she's got coming up that we're going to talk a little bit about this week and next week, because it's coming up, I think, on the 2nd of February. So all of that's coming a little bit later on. Plus, we're going to revisit some of your questions, and perhaps if we have time, look at some of the news. Oh my gosh, the news, right? For those of you who are watching, and maybe this is your first time watching the show, and you're looking at my hair and you're going, well, she's a little, for somebody her age and her size, she's a little edgy with this orange thing going on in her hair that doesn't look quite right. I just want to say to you, I'm not this edgy. I might be a little edgy. I'm not this edgy. This is part of a campaign that we started in December that, as you know, tomorrow here in the United States, we are getting a new president. And we have not heard a great deal from this president about autism. And we have not heard a plan about what to do about autism. And with more and more people on the autism spectrum, we of course are going to push for that. It is my positive assumption that we are going to get a plan for autism, but I'd like to get it sooner as opposed to later. And we wanted to let President-elect Trump know how important the autism community is. We did some research. Even conservative estimates say that 2% of the population is on the autism spectrum. So when you tell people who are not a part of the autism community, 2% of the population is on the autism spectrum, they always say the same thing. They go, oh, 2%. Oh, that never seems like a whole lot to people, which I find fascinating because 2% sounds like a lot to me. But okay, we wanted to demonstrate to people visually what 2% looks like. So we measured out my head, did the math, and we dyed 2% of my hair orange in honor of President-elect Trump and said to him, 2%, you really can't ignore it. And so that's what we're doing, and I'm going to keep I'm not in love with it, let's be clear about that, but I'm going to keep it orange until one of two things happens, until it grows out, and my hair does grow out pretty fast, or then President Trump comes up with something, and there's a plan, there's a piece of paper, and it says the autism plan. And on the day that that happens, scissors on the show will hack out just the orange, and then it'll look even funkier, and I'll look even edgier. It's all good for me because it will mean that we have a plan. I want to be clear because there seems to be some confusion, even with CNN and with some of our viewers, that having a commission on vaccines is not an autism plan. A commission on vaccines and the safety of vaccines is great, but that's about a lot of things. Certainly that includes some things about autism, but it's not a plan for autism. When we think of, all the people who are on the autism spectrum and need help and support, and their caregivers need help and support, and they need jobs, and we have adults that are on the spectrum that need a place to live. Vaccine Commission, not that. They are separate things. Thank you, CNN, for recognizing. We hope someday they recognize that. So I'm waiting for an autism plan. All right, we got our mindfulness moment coming up, but first, these messages. Stick with us.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of the children and all the accomplishments over the last 20 years, I'm thrilled.
I think what kept me was the feeling that, I would have a parent come to my office late at night at UCLA and just fall apart. And this is a long time ago, and there were much less back then in terms of services and knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, and at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. that I could, for me, it was more really about how can I help the families? What can I do for the moms, the dads? It is just, and I feel like, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in first grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grandpichet. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grandpichet.
Welcome back. We're going to do the mindfulness moment in a minute, but first I want to address some of the comments that we have coming in. It's funny. Did you guys used to watch Romper Room when you were little? I know I'm really dating myself, but there was a moment when the lady from Romper Room would say, "Mr. Music, please," and she would hold up this mirror that had a hole in it. There was nothing in it, and she would say, "I see Billy and I see Joey," and and Samantha's having a moment with me about this. So here's an interesting fact. My father was in television and he started out in sound. And we lived in Boston at that time. And so he was the sound man on Romper Room. So yes, you heard it here. My father was Mr. Music. So she would say, "Mr. Music, please." And my dad would push the button and he was Mr. Music. And so we watched this every day. And every once in a while, the woman would say, "And I see Shannon." And I would go, "Oh, she saw me." I thought it was so great. So anyway, and this is sort of what I feel like. I need to get a little mirror and say, "I see Teresa," and she's watching from South Carolina. Hi, Teresa. And I see Christina. Hi. Crystal, who's watching and says, "Wow, my son had home-based services because they said it was more effective. And this was just 5 years ago." And here's the truth, Crystal, that 5 years ago, it was known to be the best thing. But as of a year ago, center-based is that much better. It's, progress. So there we go. I see Lacey, and she says we definitely need more help for our kids. Roberto says very interesting and thank you. Thank you, Roberto. I see you. Crystal says my son did do better in the clinical settings versus home because there wasn't as many distractions. I think that's another reason why. Okay, and then we have a longer comment from Stella. She says, "Hi, Shannon. With all your resources, I feel hopeful," all in caps, "for the first time for 12-year-old high-functioning autism daughter's future. Have been desperately seeking CBS, center-based services for our specific needs, a specific place in the spectrum. Yes, I will ask our ABA. ABA has shown me on paper how insane the amount of energy and mindset that I have been spending on my daughter's well-being and to prove that what support I needed." Boy, isn't that the truth? I always try to be respectful and mindful because I have so many great friends who watch the show who are adults who are on the autism spectrum. And I know for some of them, it is not their favorite thing to hear how stressful it is to be a parent of a child who's on the autism spectrum. So my apologies to them, because I'm going to say this for just a minute, because sometimes we need to hear this as parents. It's stressful to be anybody's parent. Let's be honest about that, right? But it is ever so much more stressful when our kids have special needs, because we have to fight for our kids. We have to be the people who stand there and say, no, you're not going to do that, and you're going to have to go through that through me to do that. And there's a long, long history of that. And I think just when we all think, okay, well, you know, we're climbing up the mountain, we get to a spot and we go, whoo, okay, it's a vista. We made some progress here. This is good. Then we see that there's further to climb up the mountain. I think that's part of why, you know, a lot of us were devastated to hear some of the things yesterday from Betsy DeVos, thinking, okay, I don't really see where the special needs kids are on her radar if she's not 100% clear about what IDEA is, and that it's a federal law. That's concerning to me. You know, you know, we're not. We're still finding out information, but that's concerning to me. I got to be honest about that. But here's the thing. We're on the job. As parents of special needs kids, we are on the job. We have to manage our stress, which is why in a minute we're going to talk about our mindfulness moment. And we don't give up. That's just not in us. And I always say here on the show, we hold hands because none of us can do this by ourselves. You got to know who your tribe is and who's got your back. And, you know, when you're going into a knife fight, you got to know who's standing behind you. Well, I'm standing behind you and there's a whole bunch of other people. In fact, we're standing right next to you. So that's the thing. But so thanks, you guys. Keep the comments coming in. We love to be interactive with you guys. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do mindfulness because then it's going to be time for legal support with Bonnie Yates, special education attorney. Stick with us.
What is autism?
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 I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism,
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
Abstract.
Awesome.
Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these three words. There is hope.
Love that video. It was done a couple of years ago at an amazing event. Every spring, Fullerton Cares, the entire community, does a great event called the Mardi Gras for Autism. And it's amazing to think the gentleman that you saw very at the end that said there is hope was one of the athletes in the Special Olympics. And I remember getting to watch him as they walked in to the stadium and to see how excited he was. It was really thrilling. There's so many people in that video that we've come to know and love. And if you get an opportunity, if you're in the month of April, if you're in the Southern California, go to the Mardi Gras for Autism. It's a good time. All right, it is time for our mindfulness moment. Can't put it off any longer. It's time to be present. And one of the reasons why we talk about mindfulness every week is why we carved out some time last year is because of the stress that autism parents go through and because of the stress that individuals who are on the spectrum go through. And we know studies have shown that being mindful at least a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes every day helps to manage stress when something bad. It's kind of like an insurance policy. Everybody thinks, well, when you're upset, how is meditating going to help? It doesn't quite, my understanding is it doesn't quite work that way, but if you take the time in the morning or at night to just center yourself and breathe a little bit, it makes it so that when you're in a stressful situation, you're walking in in a better position. So you're less likely to get overstressed in those moments. And I have really seen a difference in myself in the last year as I did some mindfulness training. And I'm trying to spread that to my son and give him the opportunity. And it's funny how we kind of feed off each other, that when one of us sees the other one starting to go a place, we'll talk about, hey, take a breath. Let's realize that nothing bad is happening right now. So often what we're reacting to is something that happened in the past or something that might happen in the future, and that right now there's nothing that's that horrible going on. Because the truth is when something really horrible is going on, we're in action and in survival mode and not having all this angst, right? So there have been a lot of, what we're talking about today specifically is mindfulness in the classroom, because there's a bunch of studies that have just found their way to the world. And NPR has been covering this a lot in the last week, and I thought, hey, this is worth talking about. All you have to do is Google mindfulness in the classroom, and not only will you be treated to a bunch of studies that show that this works for all kiddos in the classroom, but you will also see that there's a bunch of apps, there's a bunch of different websites that have different exercises that teachers can do with kiddos in the classroom. So really want to encourage you. So much of the time, I think it's Teacher Appreciation Week coming up very soon, but you really don't have to wait for that. As a former teacher, I know that teachers love when they get support from parents, and maybe it's a little gift baggie with, some hot cocoa mix in it and a little piece of paper that says, hey, here's a great website with, information about mindfulness in the classroom. The worst thing that can happen is that they toss that out and never go to it. But, good teachers love that kind of stuff. They just do, I can tell you. And part of what they're finding is what we were just talking about a minute ago, that insurance policy, that if we give kiddos a place and a time in which to take a breath, that they can deal with the stress of being in the classroom or being in the hallway or being on, in the gymnasium, and handle it a little better. It's not just our kids who have sensory issues. All of the kids have sensory issues. You go into those big echoey gyms and somebody squeaks their sneakers and the basketballs go around and everybody gets a little edgy, right? I don't know how gym teachers do it, but they do. But having that mindfulness moment has been found to be really effective at managing behavior issues for all of the kids. So I really want to put it out there to the parents and to the teachers who are watching, let's start to motivate more teachers to do this. Maybe, send a little note to your principal and say, hey, take a look at these studies. Maybe it's something we need to look at here. If you're somebody who does something like yoga or something like that, maybe even volunteer and say, hey, can I come in and with one class, can we just try it out here? And maybe it's not your kid's class. Can I tell you that one of the best things I ever did when my son was in elementary school was I volunteered to direct the school play. And it was always done with fourth graders, and my kid was in first grade the first time I did it, and people were like, you're not even directing the play for your kid's class? Well, I knew he was going to be a fourth grader eventually, and what was great, I didn't even realize it at the time, was that because I worked with the kids who were older, as they got older, they stuck up for my kid. They knew who my kid was, and they stuck up for him. The first day I took him to junior high, all the kids that were older than him knew who he was and were like, hey, you're here. And it made it a luscious thing. Donate some time and have it be something that you feel good about. So if yoga is something you do, ask them. Maybe you can go in and do a little mindfulness exercise, maybe with your kid's class, maybe with somebody else's. I think you'll find that everyone will be happier and that it will help to reduce your stress as well, because our stress is tied to our kids, right? If they're happy, whoo, we're happy. They're not happy, whoo, we got stress. All right, so anyway, that's our mindfulness moment. And if you guys have great mindfulness moments, send them off to me. I love to hear how mindfulness is working for you. We're going to take a break, and when we might have one more segment. I don't know, I'm watching the time here, but we might come back with Bonnie Yates. Stick with us. We're very excited because we're in the Noah's Ark exhibit and we're here with Jason Porter. Thank you for taking us on this tour.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So you're going to show me around a little bit and show me some of the secrets of the Noah's Ark exhibit, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Cool, let's go. Yeah. So Jason, tell us, this is an amazing space. Why is it so incredible for children?
One of the values of the Skirball Cultural Center is taking care of the earth and one another, and so this idea of repurposing materials that would otherwise be tossed off was a big component to how we design the galleries. It's based on, certainly the story that everyone knows is the one from the Hebrew Bible, the story of Noah. But in our research, we looked at over 200 flood stories from around the world, and many different cultures have flood stories that have similarities, and the similarities that we identified were these 3 chapters. The storm, some crazy challenge that comes to your life, an ark, a kind of means of survival, a way for a community to come together to survive, and finally the rainbow, which is this kind of symbol of hope, the second chance to make the world anew.
Love it. All right, let's take a look through, and we're going to talk about some of the learning opportunities that are available here.
We really wanted people to kind of discover what they were supposed to do. For example, this elephant has a gong in the center, and there's a little wheel here that you can turn and see what happens. But there's also some hidden things, like there's a little peephole in this polar bear, so it's kind of a moment where you could talk with your kids about what does it mean that that polar bear in there only has a small piece of ice to live on it, and you could talk about kind of the environmental issues that might be associated with it.
All right, should we go downstairs?
Yeah, let's check out the storm.
So Jason, what do you call this room?
This is called the Storm Gallery. In one side of the gallery, we have a storm wall, which is all sorts of sounds and sight effects to make the storm come to life. We have this, what we call the load up. It's fairly intuitive. You put animals onto the conveyor belt and you turn the wheel and they get loaded up onto the ark. Except you can't do both at the same time by yourself. It's kind of layered in the doing, the learning that we're really interested in, which is about this notion of working together in order to accomplish something. So, when you first get on the ark, obviously you enter 2 by 2 as the story goes. And so the animals in this first section of the ark, they're not quite sure where they should be. They're a little bit nervous about who to hang out with. The gallery is really organized so that the animals are still in pairs. So we talk a lot about what are the elements of home that you need to survive. And it's really a nice kind of intro into the whole experience of being in a community, learning to be together with people who may or may not be the same as us. This gallery of Noah's Ark is unique, I think, in terms of the way that it was designed, that it offers a huge variety of experiences in a way that really accommodates people of all stripes and spots. So there are more quiet zones, like we just left in the move-in day, where you can come into this room where you have a lot of large motor things that are happening, including climbing, and we kind of have nicknamed this the arcade. It's kind of the chapter in the story where they're making new families and they're mixing with other animals that they've befriended. Oh, we have to talk about poop.
We can't do a show without talking about poop.
So, the other fact of life on an ark is that everybody poops. So the challenge is to, clean up.
Okay, so we're in the last room, very cool room. What do we call this room?
We call this the Rainbow Gallery. People really get that this is a place of hope. Sometimes there's an art-making project, that it ends in some sort of inspiration, that people feel like they're inspired to take action in the world and make it a better place.
Thank you so much for showing us everything and telling us about all the wonderful things at the Skirball Center. Welcome back to Autism Live. I just want to say that's one of my favorite places on the face of the earth, what you just saw, the Skirball Museum and the Noah's Ark exhibit. If you come to Los Angeles, you must go. Okay, having said that, so thrilled because we have with us on the phone Bonnie Yates. She is one of my favorite people, so to see one of my favorite places and one of my favorite people within 30 seconds is really cool. Bonnie Yates is an amazing mom, and she is a brilliant special education attorney, and she gives us this time every week to talk with you about legal matters, about things that might be of interest to you, and to answer some of the questions that you guys write in. So first of all, Bonnie, welcome. We're so thrilled to have you on these Thursdays. It just really is so exciting.
I like my Thursdays because, it's good to mix it up.
It is good to mix it up. And first of all, Bonnie, tell us about the law firm that you are coming to us from.
I am part of Hirji and Chow in Culver City, and the telephone number here, if you have a question about California law that you want us to answer, is 310-391-0330.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
And we always like to have a little disclaimer at the beginning because it's a legal thing. We should have a disclaimer. So go ahead and tell us what the disclaimer is.
We're California lawyers licensed to practice in California and in front of the federal courts in all 50 states. We can't advise you about state law in other states in a specific way, only in a general way. Furthermore, if you have a specific problem, our answers are the most general we can give given the situation, so you probably would be better served by taking your question to a lawyer who's licensed in your state and is knowledgeable about special education procedures.
But we've been so enjoying this time, and you guys have been writing in questions. We've had a little series that we've been doing that arose from a question about the regional centers here in California and about eligibility and about how that happens, because the sand has shifted significantly in the last couple of years about the regional center. And for those of you who are watching who are not in the state of California, what we've found is this information tends to be good for everyone because it's akin to things that you have in other states. So Bonnie, help us to know where we left off in this eligibility discussion.
Sure. I believe where we left off, last week we talked about the concept of sort of creating a mindset in the regional center psychologist and team who evaluate for eligibility, and that it's much more effective to come in with your own evidence, such as a private evaluation that correctly articulates why there's a qualifying condition such as autism and how it is substantially handicapping to the person in 3 or more areas, and that oftentimes worked much better than having them decide that you are ineligible and then you have to fight with them once their whole team has already done the workup. And when let me just say this about assessment. Many of the assessments cannot be repeated for 6 months or a year. And so when you come in with a really comprehensive assessment for the consumer, as they're called, you're tying the hands of the regional center because there's going to be a lot of assessments that they might have done that they can't do because you've done them. So that's another element of the whole front loading of the process.
So Bonnie, is that a good thing if we tie their hands by having done those assessments?
Yeah, because then they're going to be more likely to have to work with our results.
Okay, good.
And the other thing I would say, this is kind of an ancillary concept, but I'll just mention it because it occurs to me. We just did a case. It was not a regional center case, but the same principle would apply. It was a school district case. The child was 5. They found him ineligible twice, even though he has autism and is very high functioning. They had a psychologist that believed he was not eligible. We had one that did. We were at loggerheads, and I remembered something an attorney for the school district told me a long time ago, and that was, if you have 2 evaluators that have reached the same conclusion about eligibility, it's going to be, or, number of hours of therapy or whatever the contested issue is, it's much more likely that we're going to settle. So that, that's sort of the concept of a tiebreaker. And that means sometimes that, if there's an evaluation that's a year old or something, we might get another one from another evaluator. But that's really an aside. What we were going to talk about today is how you prepare for the IPP meeting and what happens thereafter if you are made eligible. And I think probably the burning question that we'll get to, but maybe not today, is in the wake of insurance and all the changes, how valuable is it for my child to be regional center eligible? But we're not there yet. What we're talking about today is the IPP. Now, your audience, Shannon, is probably very familiar with the IEP process. And there are a lot more attorneys that work on that side than they do the regional center side, and there are reasons for that I'm not going to get into. But the IPP is a plan for the regional center consumer that talks about the supports and services that regional center and other generic resources and parents are going to provide for the consumer. In contradistinction to the IEP, The IPP only needs to be redrafted once every 3 years, which is odd, although that's often not followed. But the IPP meeting is held usually at least once a year and sometimes more often. So the regional center will pick a date for a meeting, and then you will want to write them a letter that says you intend to audio record the meeting, because they are entitled to at least 24 hours notice, and you should always avail yourself of the opportunity to preserve what is said in the meeting. And then you get into a question about venue, because the regional center service coordinators like to come to the consumer's house to have the meeting. And the reasons for that include the fact that the consumer is there and they can combine their quarterly or annual visit, whatever it is, where they see the consumer with doing the IPP meeting. I don't have a hard and fast rule on this, but in some situations, I mean, it's kind of feels a little bit more, shuck and jive, unprofessional to do the meeting in somebody's home. Maybe it's a little less intimidating to the regional center. So I have been known to insist that we do the meeting sometimes in the regional center office. It's going to be a case by case or a meeting by meeting determination. But anyway, you're going to get together and you're going to have a team there. It may or may not include the regional center psychologist. It probably will be the service, certainly will be your service coordinator and possibly other people who are providing the service. So I guess it's worth saying a word about the service coordinator, even though it's seems as if it ought to be obvious. I don't necessarily think it is. Service coordinators are usually social workers, not always, and their role is supposed to be, if you read the Lanterman Act carefully, they're supposed to advocate for the consumer as against the larger system. People don't know that because many, many service coordinators are protecting the bottom line and they behave like gatekeepers. But your regional center service coordinator or your child ought to be an advocate for your child. And if you don't feel that that's what you're getting, then you need to change service coordinators, which the Lanterman Act is much more permissive about. The school district, pretty hard to change up personnel. You don't really have the right to do it usually. But with the Lanterman Act, you do. And I learned this in an odd way, which was I had a service coordinator who followed another one. Sometimes they change, the cases shift around. And I love her to this day. I don't know if she's alive or not anymore. I hope she is, because she kind of disappeared all of a sudden. I was concerned that maybe something bad happened. This is when my child was very young. But she set up a meeting with me, and she came over, and she said to me, "What do you think we need to get for your kid? I'm here to serve you." And she told me about a lot of stuff. It wasn't like I had to say, well, do you have this or this or this? She was like, well, would he like a computer? Would he like a recreational program in a gym? She went down the list and I was like, wow. And then she got it approved. And that is really what the service coordinator is supposed to do. But I would say that with regional center, many of them have never read the Lanterman Act and they haven't necessarily been properly taught by upper management. So they don't necessarily know this, and a lot of the time they give you pushback. But a service coordinator is supposed to coordinate the delivery of services, which is what the Lanterman Act is all about, supports and services. So you go to your meeting and you have your list of non-educational things that your child, the consumer, needs, and the service coordinator is supposed to work with you to get those services approved and to coordinate them. And that's a little different view, I think, than a lot of us might have coming away from a meeting where it seems like there's an awful lot of paperwork and verbiage and not much is accomplished. But that is what the service coordinator's role is supposed to be. And this meeting is a meeting where you are supposed to develop the regional center equivalent of goals. They're called outcomes. And so they're supposed to be written into the IPP. And as with your IEP, if you end up in hearing and you're arguing that the regional center isn't doing something that it's supposed to be doing, one of the things the administrative law judge is going to look at is, was this written into the IPP? So, sometimes they offer stuff in a letter and they don't memorialize it, and you really want to get a written memorialization of the meeting. At that meeting, you have to prepare in order to make your case for what you want. So typically, the parent historically has wanted behavior intervention services. There are other things too that you can ask for, but that's maybe less true now with insurance. But some people don't have a policy that actually includes autism treatment. So if you're one of those parents, you're going to go to the IPP meeting and you're going to make the case for the number of, why the service is necessary in the first place if there isn't agreement that it is. And then second of all, what is your justification for the service? And typically, you're going to need an outside professional to justify the number of hours, whether that's the behavior vendor, which is a little dicier because they're subject to being accused of having a conflict of interest since they're going to provide the service, and so more is more. It could be an outside psychologist. And in the best case scenario, you're going to have that person come to the meeting so they can speak to the issues, be recorded, have the regional center hear. The regional center is going to size the person up, see how knowledgeable they are, see what kind of witness they would make, and then they're going to consider the evidence and decide whether or not to give you what you ask for. If they do give you what you ask for, they are required to prepare the IPP document and get it to you. They say within 15 days, but my read of the Lanterman Act is 5 days. But, just 15 days at the outside, you're supposed to come away with a written memorialization of your meeting. And then if you disagree, there are things you can do, because there is an appeal process in the Lanterman Act, and it starts with what they call an informal conference. And that's basically not likely to lead to much because it's kind of like a review by a higher management person in the regional center. If that doesn't work, they offer mediation with an administrative law judge, and that can be pursued, and sometimes it's very effective. But I guess what I should have said before all of this is you don't get any of those appeal opportunities unless you appeal the decision of the regional center team about what services the consumer is entitled to. We know that IDEA in California has a 2-year statute of limitations. That's a long statute of limitations relative to what you have with the regional center. With the regional center, you have only 30 days to appeal, and if you don't appeal within that time, you lose the right to appeal. So if you appeal, it's not difficult. It's basically, there's a form, a 2-page form or something that you get online at the DDS website, and they ask you, what is the nature of your problem and what would be required to solve your problem. So it's like, my son needs intensive behavior intervention for X, Y, and Z reasons, and I need, what would solve the problem? I need 20 hours a week plus, 8 hours a month supervision. And so that's something that can easily be filed by the parent. That will get the Office of Administrative Hearings involved, and they're the ones that will, first of all, set up the mediation with the regional center, setting up the informal conference. And then if you actually still don't reach agreement after mediation, you will go to hearing. And those hearings are very interesting because in distinction, in contradistinction to IDEA, where the parent has the burden of proving that the district's offer was inappropriate, in these Lanterman cases, you actually have the burden of proving that the regional center isn't maximizing the child's likelihood to live independently as an adult. And for some reason I've never been entirely clear on, regional center goes first, whereas in the IDEA hearings, the school district cases, the parent goes first. And it's really quite valuable to go second because you can see what the evidence is and you can be using all that time to prepare your response to that evidence. So that's one really great thing about regional center hearings. The other great thing is they're hard to lose because you're asking for maximization and you're entitled to it under the statute. And if the regional center can't show that they're maximizing, the administrative law judge is likely to fine for the consumer, whereas in the school district cases, all they have, you know, this is being reconsidered by the Supreme Court right now in the Andrews case, but heretofore, the parent has had the burden of showing that the district's offer free appropriate public education didn't offer some benefit. Not, you know, it's like a C standard. So anyway, we could have a whole separate discussion, because I'm not sure where we are time-wise, on actually how you would prepare for a regional center hearing. So what I want to say about that, and then Shannon, you can tell me where we are on time, is that the regional centers are supposed to have advocates to help parents with this. Some of them will actually farm you out to a lawyer. Some of them will just give you like a client rights advocate that'll give you some pointers. But they do have those people, and it's important that you know that. The other thing I wanted to say, as long as we were talking about statute of limitations, is once you have the services written into an IPP, if the regional center wants to take them away, they have to give you written notice, usually by certified mail. And here there's another important statute of limitations that comes into play, and that is this. If you had your 20 hours of ABA a week plus 8 hours a month of supervision and they decided it was no longer necessary, then what would happen is they would send you this written notice that I described. And the notice will tell you about your appeal rights, but they're usually on the back, or it's kind of oblique and not that clear. You have 30 days to appeal the decision. However, if you want to continue your services, aid paid pending, there's a much shorter statute of limitations. You have only 10 business days to appeal that decision. So you have to file very quickly, and countless people have lost their services because they were not aware of what the statute of limitations was. So be clear, regional center determinations of any sort have very short statutes of limitations, 10 and 30 days respectively. So should I stop there, Shannon?
I think that's a good place to stop, unfortunately, because we've got some guests. But I was not aware of that, Bonnie. So 10 days, because we're getting more and more people who are letting us know that whether it's insurance or regional center, that after a certain age, they're being told, oh, nope, your child is done with ABA. We only fund ABA up until this arbitrary age, and it's different for different regional centers. So they only have 10 days to appeal that.
And arbitrary is the right word, because there's nothing in the Lanterman Act that says that. As long as the services are maximizing the consumer's ability to live, to approximate the normal manner of living of ordinary people, which is what the language in the statute says, the service is still something which should be paid for, unless you can get it from what they call a generic resource, which would be the school district or some other public agency or private insurance.
And so for when you say, okay, you've got 10 days to file, I think we all panic because we don't know what that entails. But is it really at that point, that's when you pick up the phone and you call for legal support? Or is there a way for parents to file themselves?
Well, there's definitely a way for parents to file themselves. There's also a way to have parents use an attorney as a coach rather than do the whole hearing, help them prepare for the hearing, because hearings can be expensive and there's no attorney fee reimbursement, which is a real downside to the Lanterman Act. But the form that I described, the 2-page form, is your appeal form. I could get one of those forms ready to go in 5 minutes. Okay. It's not substantive. It's not like you do process hearing requests on the school district side. It's just what's the nature of your problem and what would be required to solve it.
Okay. Well, that's amazing information, as always, Bonnie. So we do. Is there a goodie for us today, or we have to let you go?
Well, the goodie was the service coordinator, not the service coordinator, I'm sorry, the client rights advocate. That the Lanterman Act says that they have to provide you with support if you have a legal issue within the regional center that you need to litigate. And they don't tend to live up to this, but the authority is there in the Lanterman Act. And when you get into a contentious situation with the regional center, if you cannot afford an attorney that you pay for yourself, you should definitely make them give you a client rights advocate, because this is a whole different universe and everybody has to get their feet on the ground and sort of, familiarize themselves with the different rules.
Bonnie, you're the best. That's great information for so many families. We appreciate you so much. Tell us again the information about the law firm.
Okay, so next week we're doing questions that you all have sent in that I'm very excited about.
Me too.
Please send the questions. Please don't hesitate. They're so stimulating. Don't worry. We have time to answer them. I've learned a lot from you guys, from the questions you've asked that I didn't know the answers to. Anyway, Hirji and Chow LLP in Culver City, 310-391-0330. We love to hear from parents. Don't hesitate.
We absolutely do. Thank you so much, Bonnie. We so appreciate you. Give our best to everybody there.
All right, stay dry, ladies.
Yes.
And gentlemen.
See you next week. Bye-bye. Okay, we're a little past the top of the hour, and we've got an amazing hour coming up for you. I'm calling it the Dana and Dina Show. We've got Dana Agassi from the We Rock the Spectrum in Agoura Hills, and then Dina Kimmel is going to be with us, the owner of We Rock the Spectrums around the world. All that's coming up in just a few minutes, but here is a fabulous cooking segment coming to us from Lisa Ackerman at TACA. We call this segment What's Left, and I think it's the zucchini chicken boats. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, and yummy, yummy. So take a look.
Hi, welcome back to What's Left. I have a special guest today, Amy Brown. Where are you from, Amy?
New Jersey.
Jersey.
Jersey, yes. What exit, right?
I know, I'm sorry. You're so tired of me doing that to you. Anyways, but Amy's with Well Amy, and we're so pleased she could be here and support us today. And with your help, we've been able to do a lot more recipes, so thank you.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun
here. Yeah, we are. So we're doing chicken zucchini boats. So if I could have you help me, we're going to take our 4 zucchini. We've already washed them. They're organic and ready to go. Just cut the ends off, cut them long ways. I'm all about these recipes because they're easy to freeze, low carb to no carb, and also just gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free, and free of pretty much everything our kids can eat. So what I love about this recipe too is for some kids, if we can kind of fake them out a little bit, Amy, and put a little bit of the Daiya cheese on it, they think, oh my gosh, it's gooey, it's yummy, I want to eat it.
Exactly.
And we can hide all this other good stuff in the inside of it. So what's nice about, again, this recipe is I love that it freezes. I love that we can take the opportunity, and when they are frozen, I just take them out the night before, defrost it in the refrigerator. Pull it out, put it in the toaster oven for warm, 250 for about 10 minutes, and they're just as good as the first time.
So this is good. You can actually prepare it ahead of time the day before. You don't have to do it the day of.
Right. So when moms go to conferences to hear you speak,
yeah,
you know, they can make these ahead of time and have them ready for whoever's taking care of the knucklehead when they're gone. So that makes a good job. You make a great assistant.
All right.
Can you follow me everywhere?
So,
so I'll help you too. I'm going to grab another spoon.
Okay.
And what we're going to do next is just take out the insides of the zucchini. So what we want to do is just kind of go through and take out the insides, and we're going to use the insides later on to show that we can actually eat vegetables without dying. Now what we need to do is soften these up, because these take less time to cook with all the filling. So what we're going to do, so if you don't mind helping me, we're going to throw them all in my pan and put a little olive oil and grease them up for me.
Okay.
So just a little bit, not a whole lot, but just lay them out, and we'll put the olive oil on.
So you can take the olive oil and just douse the inside?
Yeah, douse on the inside. And I'm just going to cut up this zucchini for later on so we use it and use it as the filling, which is really going to be tasty when we're done. All right, now we're ready to make the innards for the zucchini boats. Are you ready with this?
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, we're going to do it. So here's the fun part of what we get to do next. We get to take our yummy mixings that you did earlier, and we're gonna load the boats. Load the boats and make some yummy mixing. So there is a lot of this. So if I had bigger zucchini, I would need more. But because I've got not like very huge zucchini, it's not gonna take that much. So just go ahead and fill them up. I overfill, it's my job. So we're back to with the Daya cheese, one of our favorite ingredients. I know you and I talk about it all the time, and since we're going a little Mexican, I'm going after the cheddar style shreds. So they have a mozzarella, they have a jack, they have all sorts of kinds. So we're just gonna throw this on top. How does that look?
That's great.
And so we're gonna count.
How long do we have to wait before we can
Yeah, I know. It's just another 20 minutes or 10 minutes in the oven. Depends on how hot your oven is. So we want to get the cheese melted and bubbly, and we'll be ready to go. But the most important thing is there's other stuff you can put on top. We can add olives. We can do tomato. We can do whatever we want to do. Or if your kids don't like to have any of those toppings, that's okay as well. You can keep it basic. But hopefully we've camouflaged the vegetables enough so they won't know what they'll be eating. Let's go! Back to the oven. We got them out and we're ready to go. So if we wanted to, we said we could add some tomatoes or some cilantro or parsley or whatever, you know, ethnicity we're going for that night to change things up. But these are just such a great creative way to add more protein, not go heavy carb for our kids because we know of all of their gut gastro issues. So I'm going to serve one up for you and see what you think. Oops, as I try to always go in when it's too hot. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'll dive in on one side with you. So go for it. Okay. I'm going to go in because I know some of the zucchini's in the batter too. We've got our chicken. And that cheese.
The cheese is really.
Yeah. Oh, now we're cooking with gas. So if you find that with the zucchini, it's a little too hard still, you can cook it a little bit longer. I've done that. Sometimes I cook it the night before and then fill it that night, the next night. But this is just a great way. And again, these freeze really well. I may separate each one with a little bit of parchment paper, put them in a glass container, put them out in the freezer. And then what's really great, if I know we're gonna have them the next day or they go off to lunch with Jeff, just pull them out of the freezer, put them in the toaster oven, or he has a toaster oven at school and they're ready to go.
Great.
So I hope you enjoyed our little zucchini potes, boop, boop, with chicken. You can do any kind of beef, whatever, or no protein. These are great vegetarian dish as well. So I love them, they're easy, they're yummy. Thanks for joining me, Amy.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
Oh, I had a great time. And thanks for What's Left with Autism Live. If you have recipe questions, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com or hit me up at lisa@takanow, TACANOW.org. And we would definitely like to see you next time at What's Left.
This cooking video is brought to you by WellAmy.com. Amy, a certified nutritionist and holistic health practitioner, is an expert on autism and special diets. Find ingredients and other GFCF-approved foods and recipes at WellAmy.com.
A lot of adults don't really believe kids. They'll think, kids are kids, what are they talking about? But when a child stands up for what they believe in, it's so strong and powerful. I first got involved with autism advocacy 4 years ago when my friend was diagnosed. When I found out about my friend's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it meant. But it didn't matter to me or change our friendship. I didn't look at her any differently. We still had so much fun together. Now I know that she experiences life a little differently than me, and that's okay. Knowing what she goes through has helped me to understand and be more caring towards other people in similar situations. I got involved with ACT Today because I wanted to do whatever I could to help. They provide options like behavioral therapy, medical care, social skills programs, assistance to military families, and much more. Being there for my friend was my #1 priority. I've been volunteering and spreading the word about the cause via my social media platform because raising awareness is a crucial first step. There needs to be more kids and teens involved to make sure that our voices are heard just as loudly as the adults. You may be small like me, but your acts of kindness are not.
Welcome back to Autism Live. If you watch the show, you know that from time to time we have folks on from We Rock the Spectrum because I love them all so much and because I think what they're doing is so super duper important. And so coming up, and I'm calling this the Dana and Dina Show. We've got Dana Agassi, who's here with us right now. Did I say it right?
Agassi.
Agassi. I knew I was going to do it wrong. And I mentioned this before. We have not actually had her on the live show before, but she has been a friend of the show for quite a while, and we've been at events with her. And she is now the new owner of the Agora Hills We Rock the Spectrum. So we're thrilled to have her. And in just a few minutes, we're going to bring the fabulous Dina Kimmel in and talk with her as well. But I jealously wanted a moment just with Dana because I love to showcase. We did a show a little while ago about We Rock Around the World, and we showcased different owners, and we didn't have Dana on, I was so remiss. I don't know how you're even speaking to me, but eventually we're gonna have all the owners on at some point. But I happen to love the Agora Hills We Rock the Spectrum. It has a special warm place in my heart because these are amazing gyms. If you're just tuning in and you've never heard about We Rock the Spectrum before, they're amazing, amazing places. I am going to let you say something in a minute. But I just have to say this, that a couple of years ago when my good friend, and you guys know her from the show, Nancy Allspaw Jackson, her husband was very, very ill. And, you know, sometimes when other things are going on, things fall through the cracks for us. Mm-hmm. And we don't know what to do. And she was on the phone with me crying. Her husband was in the hospital, and she said, and it's Wyatt's birthday, and I don't have anything together, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't, you know, and I said, oh, honey, there's a We Rock the Spectrum just down the street from me. Why in Agora Hills? Why aren't you having a party there? And she was like, what? They have birthday parties there? And I was like, yes. And he had the best 13th birthday party at your gym, at the Agora Hills gym. And we have memories from there, and we had such a lovely time. So I just want to say to people, you know, what a wonderful thing. And it took 3 seconds to set it up, and it was a great party. And I think sometimes people think, oh, well, 13-year-olds, they had a blast.
A blast, yeah.
They had a total blast. There was even a thing where my kid was there and they painted birdhouses. It was delightful. Now, and so then, and I knew that gym was changing ownership.
Correct.
And because I felt so possessive of that gym, I was very excited when I heard that you were taking ownership of that gym.
Thank you. I love it.
And you added things and rearranged some things. It's the new and improved. I can't wait to see it.
It is.
So tell me, what are some things that you've done at the gym now that it's Dana's gym?
It's my gym. I love it. I've put a lot of TLC into that gym. I've bought new swings. I've put a safety gate into the gym, which was never into the gym. There's a gate in the front. We had a new zip line put in that holds more weight. So for bigger kids that come into the gym. So our zip line holds about 300 pounds.
Wow.
So it's good for older kids as well.
So
not
even
just for
my
the
fat
kids.
tushy can be on the zip line.
We have all the moms sliding down at birthday parties, and the dads are like, can we do that too? I'm like, yeah, totally. And the parents can take advantage of it too, which is nice.
And here's one of the things that I want to say about you. You've always been a mover and a shaker. In a few minutes, we're going to tell the story of how you came to be with We Rock the Spectrum, and you know, and your relationship with Dina, and you know how, because each owner has a different story, and we're going to wait and tell that story with Dina. But you're a mover and a shaker girl, and you've been moving and shaking for a while, and you're bringing that to your gym, because one of the things that we know is that each gym has the ability to bring its own flavor and have events. So Dina's got an event that's coming up on February 2nd at her gym, and I just want to refer to the flyer. And I don't know, Samantha, if you have the flyer that I sent you, and we'll have that up for the next thing. But okay, so this is a parent autism workshop. How much do I love that?
I'm so excited.
Really excited. And the subtitle is Understanding Your Child's Needs. It's happening on February 2nd of this year, and it's from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a place to get connected with resources and other families. We are going to have Angela Persicki on the show. Those of you who watch the show and have been watching for a while, Angela used to be with us on a weekly basis. And then we didn't have her on a weekly basis because she is running different offices for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and she's super duper busy treating kids. But you have partnered with the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and specifically with one of the offices that Angela runs, which is the Thousand Oaks office, to make this amazing event. The resources for parents, there are going to be even some vendors that are going to be there. But okay, great event. And you're having dinner brought.
I'm having BJ's. They're catering pizza, and they told me whatever I needed to call them, and they will take care of us.
You are the best.
I'm so excited.
But okay, so if that wasn't enough, everybody who's listening going, ooh, I wish I lived in Agoura Hills, right, because I would want to go to this event, what's the first thing that parents always ask is their child care, right? Because
number one,
where's your kid if you're going to this event, is their child care? So here's the deal, you guys. If you're going to this event, and you want childcare, all you have to do is give a buzz to Dana at the gym. Call me. And I'm going to give, it's okay to give the number that's on the flyer. So 818-991-5437, 818-991-5437. And that will get you to Dana. There's the flyer. Thank you, Samantha. You're awesome. And then there's
we'll work it out. We'll take care of it.
And so what a fabulous, fabulous thing. But this is just one of the many things that Dana is doing at her gym. If you are in the Southern California area, specifically if you're in that Westlake, Agoura Hills, Thousand Oaks, Newbury Parkish area, you've got to check out this gym because it's a fabulous gym, holds very special memories for me. You're fabulous, girl.
Thank you.
What a wonderful gym. Okay, so we're going to take a short break. We got to get Dina in here so we can really have the Dana and Dina show. We're going to talk a little bit about what the history is and how you, so we can hear your story about how you got started with We Rock the Spectrum.
Correct.
And if you guys are interested and go, hey, I want to know more about this, I might want to have a We Rock. We got stories to tell you, and I think Dina probably has stories about being in Malaysia because it really is We Rock the Spectrum around the world. So don't go anywhere. Hold on to your cushions, your seat cushions. Stick with us. We'll be right back. We are here at the Los Angeles Zoo. We've got quite a group here. I've got my son, Jem, Mike from the A Word, and Jack Riley, star of the A Word, and Jessica. We've got a whole crew of people, and we're going to take a tour around the LA Zoo and see some exciting animals. Sound good, you guys?
What are the safety rules, though? Who do you have to stay next to?
Daddy and Dieter.
So remember what we talked about? That every time you do something good, I'm going to write it on my hand. When you get 35 of these, what are you going to get?
3 hours of reading.
Yes, it's not a secret. You can tell people. What kinds of things do you need to do to get a mark on my hand?
Being kind. And good listening. Jem, can you show him where the chimpanzees are? Can you point it out to him?
Show Jack Riley. Tell us what your responsibilities are here at the LA Zoo.
I am the manager of volunteer programs at the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association. I oversee the docents, the student volunteers, the general volunteers, and community service volunteers.
Give us an overview of what kinds of things people can see at the zoo.
There are lots of animals to see. We have a lot of endangered. We participate in a lot of conservation programs, and we offer a lot of education programs for our community, for school groups, for members, special needs.
What kinds of accommodations can you make when somebody has specific issues?
We have our special needs outreach program, and where we have a van that goes out into the community, and we bring a handful of animals to facilities that can't quite get to the zoo. So that could be a school, that could be a retirement community, that could be a hospital, and there are some courthouses that we visit as well. And we bring a couple animals and we talk about them, and it's kind of a fun experience. So that's our outreach program. And then on grounds, we also have tours, and we offer special needs tours for people catered to their needs. We have our petting zoo, so you can go and you can pet some goats.
We're here with from Autism Live, and we were wondering if you could tell us what it's like to be a goat in the zoo. Really?
And we have our condor rescue zone, so you can go in and pretend you are a condor, or you could be a biologist, or you could be a vet, and it's kind of fun.
Thank you for all the work that you do here and for making it accessible for all of our kids. Here with Janet Jackson. Janet, tell us what your role at the zoo is.
My role is a docent, and we're volunteers.
How did you learn all the things that you know?
Well, that's the great thing about the Los Angeles Zoo. We have a special docent program. It's one of the most stringent ones in the country. Actually, it's UCLA accredited class.
Well, it added so much to our visit to the zoo today. So I thank you for all your knowledge and all your giving to the community.
Well, thank you, because I had a special needs child too, and I think it's so important that they interact with animals, and that helped my son when he was going through so much trauma, that we saw that he was able to grow and to expand a little bit, and it just helped us as parents because we had a tool to use, and we saw the love and the care that he was able to bring out just by touching animals and being around animals, because there is no judgment there.
Amen to that. Well, thank you for paying it forward, because you are. I definitely saw you doing that today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
What was hard for you guys today at the zoo, do you feel?
To be completely honest, I was about to say this is the easiest, best outing I can recall. My concerns are, I think we're sort of past elopement, but it's always on my mind when it's just with the two of us out in a, you can get 20 feet away if it's busy and be lost, be misplaced. But nothing like that happened today. There were a lot of people helping me, of course.
It was interesting for me because Jem hasn't been here since he was 3, like right after we started therapy. And I remember that was hellish, the day that we were here. Sometimes I don't notice the progress until we're out someplace like this. Do you feel like that's true too?
Yes, today I was actually comfortable with him being 15, 20 feet away. And even if he wasn't holding anybody's hand or anything, I was comfortable. And that's a new feeling.
I watched that and I said, man, there's no way we could have done that at that age. So he's doing really well. And I was so engaged by how Jack Riley is so aware of the circumstances around him. He's really doing great.
Yeah, thank you. He's curious. He's and he's just learned a lot. I mean, I can't give enough credit to Miss Jessica. No disrespect to any of our other therapists, and she's been with him for the whole time. So that's a constant in his life, and I dread the day when she's not.
It's always amazing. We had our rock star on our team. There's always one therapist that just becomes a part of your family forever. What would you say to parents who are afraid to do it even with an aide?
I understand your fear, because I've always had it. But sometimes they surprise you. I know it's called a spectrum for a reason, and my son is not like any other son or daughter, and so I can't advise you on what may or may not happen. We were always worried about transitions. They're getting better because we do it, and explain what is expected before you get here. That was a hard lesson for me to learn. But every time I don't explain to him the expectations, I have more problems. I have more transitional issues. But when he knows what transitions he's going to face that day, he handles it. So my advice would be, talk it out, but come do it, and come again, even if it's a horrible experience, because it might be. You got to do it the first time before you can do it the second time. So.
I think in general, I explained the expectations here and we carried it out of my hand. I agree with you. It's super duper important. I think it's good for us too, because then we know what we're expecting too.
And they've engaged each other a little bit, which I was very happy to see.
Thank you so much for coming and doing this play date with us. We had a really great time.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it, and it's just a great experience. I can't wait to tell my wife how well he did. So.
And let's do it again sometime.
Okay, anytime.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited and giddy. I'm calling this the Dana and Dina show because I have Dana Agassi. I got it right that time. I'm so thrilled. And Dina Kimmel here with us, both from We Rock the Spectrum. Dina is the mastermind behind We Rock the Spectrum around the world. And Dana has been by your side a lot. We just were talking with her. She's now the new owner of the Agora Hills We Rock the Spectrum, but this is not a new operation for her. She's very familiar with We Rock the Spectrum, and I understand that there's a story, and I don't know the whole story. So who's going to kick the story off here?
I'll kick it in.
Okay.
Only because
just don't make me cry.
We only have 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. Oh no, we got all kinds of
time. I'm teasing. Dana tells better stories than I do, but it's when I say it's a story, it's such a journey for her. Yeah. And I'm so proud of her, really. I met her. Look, you're gonna make me cry. You're
gonna make me. I'm already welling up. I'm already crying.
I met her when her baby was 9 months old, and she's now in first grade. Okay, so she was taking a class. Her older daughter was taking a class in We Rock, and that's when we used to shut down the gym for classes before we realized what the community really needed was staying open for open play, and our We Rock care. And I thought she was great. I thought she liked to talk a lot.
So
she was great. She filled up that class quickly. But then sure enough, summer came along and she came up to me and she was tugging on my shirt and she goes, "Hey, I need a job. Can I work this summer for
ready.
you?" Yeah, and I said, "I don't have anything." She goes, "I need it." So let's just say.
It was hard to be a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. And I, with my first, and she was back to school, and I needed something to keep me busy. I'm not the kind of person that just sits and can just sit around the house.
Yeah.
But she had no idea the journey, what she was in for.
Yes.
Because
you didn't know what you were
taking the classes, there was only maybe one other child on the spectrum in the class that her daughter was in. So when she started camp, it was a big eye-awakener, especially our Tarzana location. We have a lot of the kids who need the one-to-one attendant care. And when Dana started, let's just say it was very, very shocking to her. And there were many times where I had to say, "Dana, don't make those faces," or because to her, seeing a kiddo, lick the counter, lick everything was just like, oh my God, germs. And so she started from, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is going to work for you, Dana, because, I understand it's very different for you, but I want parents, I want the kids to be able to feel comfortable. I said, so, hello, it's do or die here. You need to realize that, this is how it is with kids on the spectrum. Come in the gym more often if you need to.
Because to be abundantly clear, you didn't have any education in the autism
She had
community.
zero.
Nothing.
I was a teacher, but I was a preschool teacher, but not for special needs. And so I was teaching, and that was it. So I said, just give me a try and let me see what I can do.
And I think it's important to talk about that because we all came in as newbies at some point too when we didn't know about autism, but then we got a crash course.
Oh yeah.
Our kid had it, and so it was 24/7. We were gonna know about autism. But for parents coming in who don't have a kid on the spectrum,
it's shocking.
It is shocking. Yeah. There are some things that you go, whoa, what's that? I don't know what that is.
But coming in as a client or as a We Rocker coming and using the gym is much different than working there.
Yes.
So Dana, that summer it was. I had to
you got the crash
pinch her.
course.
I had to pinch her and go, don't make that face, don't make that face. And then we had a kiddo in there, and he was on the spectrum, and little guy had webbed hands, and feet, and just seriously a joy. And still know this family, and they're amazing. But all of a sudden he took to Dana, and it was by the end of the camp, and she was guiding him across, the little walkway path that we have that people then jump kiddos and then into the crash pit. And she looked up at me, and I looked at her, and she had tears in her eyes, and she goes, "That's it. I get it. I'm hooked. Oh my gosh, this is my moment. Making that difference and connecting with him.
Yeah.
Making that connection. You know how that is. It's just
it was
amazing.
amazing.
That's everything. Yeah. So that was her pivotal moment, and for me also having her there and to be able to continue on with Re-Rock, because of course then after camp she saw what she did in making such a difference. Yeah. And no one sells Re-Rock like Dana. Okay, seriously, it's unbelievable. And of course, I got to know her as a person and loved her, began to love her. And
when camp was over, it was hard. I got so attached to some of those, all of them. Yes. I'm like, this is seriously amazing. And my daughters were helping me with the camp too. So they would be at the gym, and they didn't know what special needs was either. They had no clue. So having my older daughter, Brianna, now 11 or 12, and working with me in camp because Dina would let me bring the kids camp, and my older one or my younger one, they would come to the gym.
We've got more of a story. Shannon needs to hear
it's
it
coming.
all.
You're already making me cry.
This goes in stages with Dana.
We've been together for a long time.
Yeah, here we have someone who hadn't worked in the workforce, then all of a sudden jumps into a job working with special needs children, and then realized she wanted to continue after, so she asked me for a position. And I didn't really, have one, but if you know Dana Agassi, she'll make you create one, and I did, and she started working at the gym. And let's just say soon after, she became the manager for the flagship gym in Tarzana because we weren't a franchise then, and that's how far she and I go back. And then of course our kids became friendly, but how she ran my Tarzana gym, which of course was amazing. She ran it like it was her own, and Bailey, then her baby, was 18 months and showed some delays. And I said, Dana, we've now started this break time. Do me a favor, just bring Bailey, but not when you're there. Drop her off and, see what happens. Yeah. Well, sure enough, within a couple months, the kid, now she won't stop talking, right?
Her vocabulary is amazing.
Yeah, it was, well, sometimes the second baby syndrome, the sibling speaks for the other.
And I knew, for them.
Yeah, I knew that's all it was. But she was able to, come from zero background of special needs and become the person that worked in the gym that all the parents loved her, the kids loved her. They asked for Dana, when's Miss Dana working? And it was great. And she was there when we decided to franchise 3 years ago. And I said, do you want to move up to corporate? And so I took her with me. It was only her and I. That first year in corporate. Yep. It was just her and I. Wow. She was my assistant. That's how we began. So here we go from mommy to working at camp to working at Tarzana to manager of Tarzana to now being my only right hand in corporate. So she stayed with me there for about a year and a half, and it was great. It was passionate. It was fun. Traveled together, did grand openings. It was dynamite. But I always knew that Dana belonged owning her own gym because Dana likes to be her own boss. We'll leave it at that. But Dana likes to be her own boss. But I knew that she deserved, something of her own, and I knew that she really yearned for that, and her husband as well, because her husband Henry is an amazing support in that gym. But he was always a great supporter of We Rock also. But they really are a family that own the gym. And now being in We Rock and now in corporate, because she still works for corporate as well. She has her own gym and she works for corporate. But here this opportunity arose from Agora. And the owners at the time realized, it was time to move on to something else. And that's when we really are grateful because, pass the baton to someone else who can make that gym what it needs to be. And that's, of course, it's the only thing in Agora Hills and Westlake. That's it. So we're so excited when we heard about Card, reaching out to Dana. Yeah. But Dana goes and opens up Agora, okay, with a vengeance, okay, just, I'm going to turn this gym around, and,
I did.
She did, and she continues to do so.
Yes.
Her passion, the love, I hear, that's nothing but, amazing things about Dana. They come in for one time, they end up buying, 12 visits because, they fall in love with it. And Henry, her husband, who also works there whenever he can, especially on the weekends, and she does exactly what we say what an owner needs to do, which is to be successful at a We Rock. She brings her kids into the gym with her. Yeah. She doesn't make We Rock fit into her world. Mm-hmm. She makes the world fits into her We Rock. And that's what makes a successful gym owner. I mean, truly, she is a successful gym owner because it's not just being the highest in sales, it's her kids love to be at the gym. Her daughter and my daughter, who are good friends, they can run the gym, right? They can. It's amazing. They do the whole mind body, checking the kiddos in, and they love to be there. I mean, Dana's Parents' Night Out is the busiest of any We Rock. Okay, busiest.
We got to talk about that.
It's unbelievable.
About what Parents' Night Out is. Educate me.
Well, so back to working at the gym. So it was amazing, and Dina gave me the position in corporate. And I never thought I would be a gym owner. I just thought I would continue with Dina in corporate. I just never thought. So I got the amazing opportunity that Dina gave me, that opportunity to open, and I did. And I went from, I think, 600 and some odd customers to almost 2,000.
Amazing.
So it's been amazing, and I just feel like it's home. When you walk in, it should feel like home and not just a gym to come and follow the rules. And there's no rules. There's no rules. It's come in, have fun, and feel like you're at home. and I make coffee for customers every day. I have snacks on the counter. I have a goodie box for the kids that I do. And I just want them to be happy when they come to the gym.
Well, that's an amazing thing.
So
And then tell me, but what's Parents' Night Out? Is that for?
So Parents' Night Out.
Do you need to be a member? What has to happen?
You do not. So Parents' Night Out, I started. I want to say I just counted. I've had 19 since I've opened.
Gosh, really? 19, oh my goodness! Yeah. Wow.
And it started as 4 or 5 kids. Now I have up to 20.
Oh wow!
I have up to 20 kids.
Unbelievable.
I do.
And so, are these like, is it every Friday?
What's going to be twice a month.
Twice a month.
It's on the second Saturday and the last Saturday of the month.
Okay.
I was doing it one time a month. And just by popular demand, the parents were begging me to do it more.
They do.
And they come from Sherman Oaks. I have people coming from Sherman Oaks, Encino, all over.
So they drop the kids off.
They drop the kids off from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
And we do pizza. And I buy like cookies and give them, we play games, we do arts and crafts projects, and I say bring them
to special diets,
special gluten-free, because my daughter is gluten-free. She has celiac disease, so I do gluten-free pizza, gluten-free dessert, and I tell them bring their kids in their jammies, because literally they don't even make it out of the parking lot, and the kids are out.
Yeah.
So the parents are like, okay, when's your next one? Just put us down. Just put us down.
Well, I just got back from spending some time with Temple Grandin in Texas, and I love spending time with Temple Grandin, and one of the biggest things that she talks about with parents, and some of the best advice she ever gave me as a wife, she gave me wife advice, Temple Grandin, was you've got to find some time to be with your significant other where you're not with your kids and you're not talking about autism. And she said to me, so you do that, right? And I was like, what? What you saw? What's this you talk of? I have no idea. And she said, no, you have to find that. And she said, this is the number one problem that I hear from autism parents is that they don't know where to find someone to watch their kid, that they know that their kid will be okay, qualified, and have a good time.
Right.
So, she would love this. This would be, because it's important.
Dynamite. That's the break time in all the re-rocks.
Yeah.
But not, listen, re-rock, I will say, and Dana will say this because she's been with me since the beginning, basically, since the beginning, 6 months or 8 months after I opened. Now 7 years in August. Can you believe it?
No, I can't.
But re-rock is the only place where you will see an indoor facility where parents have never been in there before. They will walk into her gym or any of the other re-rocks, and they'll be like, "Oh, bye, here's our kiddo." We're like, "Oh, wait, don't you want to, hang out with them first?" Oh, no, we feel comfortable. See you later. When does that happen?
Right. When kids are comfortable.
Yeah,
that's
when kids and
happens.
parents.
Yes.
And parents are comfortable because, again, they're walking in and their child might be having a tantrum. They don't see us moving. We're like, we've got this. Go ahead.
Right.
And we let them go to dinner. Go do what you need to do. And yes, it's the number 3 thing to break up a marriage.
Yeah.
Having a special needs child, for exactly what Temple Grandin said. She's right. I'm a victim of it. I didn't do it for years. I mean, even when I started doing break time in my own gym, I didn't use it. I remember Dana joking. She goes, "You've got us. Well, why aren't you going out with your husband? Go on a date." And I forgot. It's like I would forget, right? And of course, we need to be able to nurture all of our relationships. As you know, you look up respite for our kiddos. What does it say? To give parents a break.
Exactly.
And,
exactly. But
so
but when our kids get to have a break and have fun,
right?
And the fact that it's 5 to 9, which is great. So they
can go to dinner, go see a movie.
Exactly. But then when you pick them up and they're exhausted, the night continues because you can take them home and pour them into the bed, and then you could do whatever you want. We don't want to make assumptions, but you could do whatever you want.
That's exactly
right.
I love you. I have to tell you something. A couple months ago, we went out and the kids wanted to see each other. So I said, okay, we'll go for an hour. Mommy's tired. We'll go for an hour. So it was 6:30 or whatever when we got there. I'm like, okay, you guys, it's 7:30. Okay, bedtime in an hour, let's go. Oh, no, I couldn't get him out of there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Dana starts, and she puts on her dancing. You don't understand. Dana can dance. But then all the kids, and I mean, I have a video of Gabriel.
Parties.
Oh, yeah, they have dance parties. They do freeze dance. It was so much fun. We ended up staying for the whole entire time. Okay, the kids were in bed late. Like she said and you said, they slept, they were seriously asleep in the car within less than 5 minutes, but it was fun. I mean, I had fun there just watching her, and I'm proud of her. I'm really, really proud of her as a mother, as a woman, as someone who took this on, unlike, say, us parents who, we this is it. We have a child on the spectrum. This was her choice to do this.
That's amazing.
And we don't pick our ownership is we have special needs families or people who are in the field. Dana is one of 2 owners out of our 60 that don't have some affiliation, with a kiddo being on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So she is self-made. She's self-made by this amazing person and the support system and the girl and West. Oh my God.
Oaks and Westlake.
It's Westlake, yeah. And really, people come from, even the Simi Valley area.
Yes.
To
Simi
her.
Valley.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
And
but
it's a beautiful gym.
I
like I said, I have great memories of being there. It's a beautiful, beautiful gym. Well, congratulations on having this fabulous gym. I want to take a short break, and then I want to come back and talk a little bit about, since the last time Dina was here, we were talking about We Rock the Spectrum around the world, and she can tell us stories about how it really is around the world. But I don't want to leave without re-mentioning that you've got a special event that's coming up on February 2nd at your gym in Agoura Hills. This is a parent autism workshop done in conjunction with the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. It's like you took 2 things that I really love. It's a Reese's peanut butter cup and put them together. So a great workshop for parents to be able to go to. Dinner will be provided, and if you want childcare,
just call me.
It's available. And so you can call Dana at the gym and be able to get hooked up with that. Can we show the flyer one more time before we go to break? You're going to have speakers that are there, and you've got resources that are there. We're going to hook up parents with resources, but also parents get an opportunity to meet with other parents there. And the kids can be having a good time while they're doing it. So there is the workshop, and you can see the phone number on there to call Dana so that you can get hooked up with childcare, because we know that's the single most important thing in order to get people to be able to be there. Don't miss that on February 2nd. We're going to take a break and come back and talk about We Rock the Spectrum around the world, because Dina has gone to Malaysia and come back, and I want to hear about Malaysia.
Very
Stick
exciting.
with us. And we're Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm calling this the Dana and Dina Hour, because I've got Dana Agassi. I got it wrong that time.
It's okay, Agassi.
Agassi. No, it's the I can't.
Agassi.
I want a trophy for close. But anyway, and Dina Kimmel, both from We Rock the Spectrum. Dina is I was just saying, when I first met her and you had one little gym, and I was impressed with you then, and now you're all over the world, literally. And Dana has been with you almost since the beginning, is now the owner of the Agoura Hills Gym. There's a great event, February 2nd, if you're watching, at her gym in conjunction with the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Amazing workshop for parents. But Dina, I got to talk about the last time you were here. We took a trip around the world and met a whole bunch of gym owners. And one of the gym owners that we met with was in Malaysia. They were getting ready to open the Malaysia gym.
Rama Mehta. Yes, unbelievable.
And now it's happened. You've opened. You went to Malaysia.
It was 3 weeks ago, and it feels like yesterday, and then it feels like forever ago.
Yeah.
But not only did I go to Malaysia, my whole family went to Malaysia.
And we lived vicariously through you. We looked at the pictures. We saw the pictures. It just looked like it was so amazing.
Well, you know, our mission with We Rock is full inclusion and our organic environment. You know, I had one of my owners call me yesterday, for example, and said, you know, do I have to do the structure? Do I have to close down the gym for... And we're like, no, we're the opposite. Don't forget, just let it flow. Well, of course, my dream was to go worldwide in 5 years, and we did it in 3.
See, so you kept that underneath your hat. I didn't know that you were even thinking about that. But
well, you know, I think I forgot that this article came up in the Huffington Post and was written about me, and that's what I'd said what my 5-year goal was. And I thought, you know, like I had one gym at the time.
Do you remember us saying to each other, just one gym by the end of the year?
Yeah, that's what we used to say. Yeah,
just one gym.
Yeah, and there was 30 last year, and now it's going crazy this year. But to see that kind of organic environment happen in a different country, well, it's undescribable. I can't describe it. We literally got off the plane. We slept. My kids went to sleep. I couldn't believe it. Woke up the next morning. Well, the gym was opening in 4 days. I had to get in there and help them and set up the rock shop and do what I do. And here I am in a different country. And there's my family. My husband and both of our kids went. The kids did phenomenal on the airplane. Okay. Well, you and I both know I wouldn't go out the door. Okay, with my son at 2 years old. I was afraid to go anywhere, let alone on a plane for 20 hours. But I went in the gym. There was nothing on the apparatus, and I went, oh my gosh, okay, I had to panic. I go, you guys, where's your swings? And I went and I grabbed the bolster swing and I put it up. Boom, Gabriel went right on the bolster swing. I brought with me this, puffy chair. I put that in their calming room because Gabriel, that was familiar to him. Shannon, that was it. That was it. This kid acclimated from day one, minute one. Both of my kids had fun. My daughter, who's 12 and a half, was help training the staff. It was unbelievable.
Your daughter is amazing. I mean, she's got an amazing mom, and I know that you had an amazing mom. So she's got a legacy of women in front of her, but she's living up to it. Your daughter really is amazing. But your son is too, and we haven't said this in this episode, but your son was diagnosed on the spectrum at what, 2?
At 2.5. 2.5. 2009.
And I loved hearing you talk about, because we all have that anxiety about, when we leave the home and how will our kids do and where do we go. And I love this idea that you can go on vacation now and check out where the closest We Rock the Spectrum is, and know that at some point you can go into that We Rock the Spectrum and have your kid regulate themselves and feel instantly at home. That you talked about that, you walked in and he was okay. He had something familiar. It was your dream. It is your dream. You made it happen.
It's a reality. I mean, it's a reality. I mean, we have the system in our gyms. It's called Unplug, and they're big TV monitors, and they flash through, and it's hashtag WRTS worldwide now. And literally, you'll see all the different gyms. I have a jacket on, and I have chills because it's just, oh my gosh. To actually, to see that, okay, of course, firsthand, but then to go into a country that has nothing, okay, that has no re-rocks. They have amazing
and we've got some pictures.
I mean, unbelievable, this gym. That was when she was under construction, absolutely.
But we got the one at the front of that lovely woman that we had her on the show, and congratulations to her.
Yes.
Have we got the picture, Samantha, that's the front of the gym? And keep talking while she's bringing that up.
I mean, Rama, yes, Rama's the managing partner. Look at this. It's so gorgeous.
Stunning.
It's so, it's the high-tech re-rock. It's the only re-rock the Spectrum thus far that has 2 zip lines, okay? So they have a shorter one and a longer one. It's unbelievable.
Look at the space.
It's so beautiful. It is, I don't know, it's it's gorgeous. Listen, all the gyms are beautiful.
Yeah.
But what was amazing was to see Gabriel go into a different country. He sees those 10 pieces of equipment that all the gyms have.
Yeah.
And of course, this was my dream that this would happen. But to see it happen, it was very emotional for both myself and my husband.
Yeah.
I mean, and really Sophia, to have it be okay that she was able to go on, she was dying to go to Malaysia so she could be there and have fun. And they were with me the whole time as I helped them get the gym ready. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'd look over sometimes and there's my husband. He had tears in his eyes. But let me tell you about the big day. So there we are. The grand openings are not like they are in the States, which incidentally, so you know, Dana does still work for corporate. She works for, she's our director of marketing and sales. She's the one who gets all the food donated through our nonprofit, everything. So mother, wife, gym owner, and still works for corporate. Unbelievable.
I travel when I can.
Yeah,
I love to travel, but then again, I have to be at the gym. But like Dina said, my 12-year-old can run the gym with my husband, so I can try to travel.
Malaysia was too far. It was
a little too far.
It was.
But I did go to New York.
She did. I did just take her to New York. I did. But here we are, and I'm sitting with the owners the day before, and they said, well, you know, this is by, you know, invitation only. There's no kids are going to be there. And I'm like, what? I said, what do you mean? She said, well, yes, it's, you know, it's a press conference.
Oh.
So I said, you mean in the gym? She goes, oh, no, there's a big hall. I walk upstairs to look. It's this enormous, like 15,000 square foot room. There's 250 chairs set up. Oh, yeah, it's all going to be press.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, excuse me? I go, Rama, okay, tell me more. And she says, Dina, oh, no, we're going to have like 15 different news stations. And, well, you know, because one of the owners, you know, her husband is the minister of youth and sports. And I was like, okay, so basically, like, you know, I'm not from Malaysia. I didn't know what that meant, that every 5 feet he walks, people stop. And of course, then her father was the former prime minister.
Oh, I did not know.
So neither did I. Okay, they are so humble, the owners.
They buried the headlines.
They buried the headlines. Let's just say there's opening day, there's Secret Service walking in. And I'm like this, I don't get nervous, you know. And you know they showed the video of you and I up there in the segment. It was amazing. So you were seen all around Malaysia.
How funny.
But they walk in, there's these people. I'm looking at my husband, I go, okay, I don't have a speech. He goes, you never have a speech. Get up there and do your thing. But there walks up Rama. She talks about her vision, her own mission, her 3 children, her son who has ADD, which brought her here today, and good friend having, and now partner who has Down syndrome. Their daughter was gorgeous, 13 years old. You know, a lot of people think We Rock the Spectrum is just for children with autism. Oh, no. It's for all different abilities. Yes. And she spoke. So then I got up and spoke. I was like, and I'm watching my husband. I'm looking down, looking at my son. Yeah. I'm looking at my daughter and going, oh my God, I can't believe it. We did it.
Yeah.
And after I spoke, the Minister of Youth and Sports got up. And if you go on the headquarters page or their page, you'll hear a speech. Mm-hmm. It was 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. He then came out, Shannon, and talked about their own son who was 9 years old on the spectrum. Well, that would be like, you know, our own president doing that here. Yeah. Can you imagine what that did for their country?
Amazing.
It was so hard. I did the big ugly cry, okay? Thank God. I tried to do it quietly as he was up there, but just the courage. You know, he was the one who found We Rock. They came for the Special Olympics in 2015, and that's how they found out about us. And it took over a year. And he was so funny. So here's the Minister of Youth and Sports, and he goes, well, I called, and I spoke with Tina Norwood, and I found out I couldn't even speak with Dina Kimmel because I needed to sign an NDA. did I need to tell them who I was or who my father-in-law was, Prime Minister? And we were cracking up because I was like, good job, corporate, good job, corporate. But it was so funny, but it was so beautiful to hear him speak and to represent the youth, okay, of the country there in Malaysia, and to know the difference, what that man's speech did. Yeah. Those next 3 days following, when I trained them, the families poured in because of Kyrie, because of him. Amazing. Because of him making it feel like it's okay. You don't have to be quiet because it's very, you know, hush-hush there.
Yes.
And not anymore.
What an amazing thing. Look at you changing the world.
That was unbelievable.
It is it's unbelievable, but it's reality. Mm-hmm. And you make it believable, you make it happen, and these opportunities for our kids to be places where they're comfortable, to have a place where fitness is a part of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
But also the bigger thing, especially, you know, when we're starting so young, is that sensory regulation that all of these gyms give our kids an opportunity. And I love you saying that it's not just for spectrum. It's for everybody, including the neurotypical kids. We started out talking about that at your gym. The first time I was at your gym was for a birthday party for a 13-year-old who was on the spectrum. And over, I would say, like 75% of the kids that were there were girls who were 13 and 14 years old, neurotypical.
Yeah.
And they had a blast. They had an absolute blast.
I got a phone call the other day, as a matter of fact, and the lady's like, is this gym just for special needs? I said, absolutely not. I said, it's a gym for all kids, and it's good for neurotypical kids to come to the gym and see special needs kids because they've probably never been around it either, and it's good for them to see it, that all kids are the same.
Yeah.
And everybody's the same.
They're amazing places, and I have not been to anywhere near all of them, but they each have their own flavor. You got to check out the one that's closest to you. We love everything that you guys do, but in particular, and I can't end this without saying that you guys also allow us to hold our Sensitive Santa event.
Oh my gosh, it was dynamite.
You didn't get to be there because you were already
I was
left,
Skyping from Malaysia.
But we had such a good time, and it was so amazing, and it just always is such a stunning day for us. We get to see what you guys get to see on a regular basis, the kids playing in that gym and having such a good time. We're so out of time. Really quickly, Dina, tell them if they want more information in general because they want to find a gym that's close to them, where's the best place to go?
To WRTSfranchise.com and click on the locations.
WRTS, which stands for We Rock the Spectrum.
Yes, and can I say I'm very excited that within the next 30 days we're launching an app. So on your phone, free We Rock the Spectrum app, and you can find a We Rock around the world.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then if they're interested because they go, okay, this is the business model, I want to be a part of her family, and I can see why people would want to do that. Absolutely. What a great opportunity for a family. Where do they go to find out about owning a franchise?
They go on the franchise site, the www.wrtsfranchise.com. Yeah, it's all on the same site.
Franchise.com. Okay. So check it out. And if you are in or near the Agora Hills area, make sure that you check out Dana's gym and get to that event on February 2nd. But call her now for childcare. We're totally out of time. We're going to be back here live next Wednesday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye for now. I was like, we're still there. Gosh, like I need 7 tissues. That's amazing.
When I tell you, I was having to hold it in. My allergies, my ears are itching and